Welcome to our monthly community calls. This one is obviously off the back of Labor Day weekend, so we don't have a ton to go over today, but definitely a few things that I'm excited to show and talk about. Dimitri is going to show a way that he uses ImmyBot as a forensic tool, which is going to be really interesting. Tara's going to go through our where we'll be, and then we have some vibing time. And I thought I knew what Darren was going to show, and now I don't. So it's a surprise to all of us, and we're all going to have fun. But we'll have some time back. We probably won't run the full hour today, which is why I reduced it from. We usually have that last for office hours, and our team is still able to stay on. But I figured we'd have a shortened agenda today, so we should be able to get to office hours before the end of the hour. Get everybody on their way. Look at this cute little infographic. Isn't that awesome?
It's so cute.
My name is Anna, and Tara's on the call as well. We run the community team, and then we have a lot of our devs, our contributors, our CEOs are both in the same. So we got everybody in-house today, and I will pass it to Tara to tell us where we will be.
We are going to be at Can IT next week. Is there. I will be there starting on Sunday. And then we've got our community call coming up. We're going to be at Tax 8 peer groups, which you guys know I love. So Anna is going to be going with me to that. She's never done the tax peer group. I actually have to leave halfway through that week because we have Channel Con in London, and the network group is over in Belfast in Northern Ireland. And Anna is going to be handling the dinner in Chicago while I overseas. So we get a little tiny break in September, and then it's full steam ahead in October.
Tara has traveled from the States to Australia to the States to Canada to where's your stop in Europe gonna be?
London.
Then you go to Dublin,
Belfast,
and then you go to Belfast and Scotland. Like, this woman's all over the world. So if you can't find ImmyBot, we're trying to come to you. I have to get on a plane to meet us a little bit because we're trying to be everywhere you are.
Or a car. But that is something that we're looking into. So next year we are looking for MSPs that would like to host us for potential road shows. So if you do want us actually in your area, please let Anna and I know. It's community@immybot. We are starting to plan those. I'd love to come see you guys, especially people who don't go to conferences and stuff. We would love to come out there. I would like a shirt that is ImmyBot as Carmen Sandiego, like where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Yeah, that's what I want. 90s kid here.
Perfect. Okay, so let us know. I know that there was, it came to my attention, people may have seen it or not, on the Reddit that the community email us wasn't being responded to as well as it should have been. And that was because I created a really bad inbox rule that was sending everything to hell. So I've sorted that out now. And so community@immy.bot will actually get you into communication with our team, and you will actually hear back from me in a normal amount of time. But if you're interested in that dinner in Chicago, that's being hosted through Channel program. So I definitely can get you a room. But I will have to make that ask on your behalf. So let me know if you're local to the Chicago area and want to come hear about ImmyBot and some other cool things happening in the channel, and get a free steak dinner.
And I'll raise my hand here too. If anyone is going to IT Nation Connect or the peer groups that week in November, I know it's not on here yet. We are looking for customer testimonials. We're going to be bringing a videographer with us. If anybody wants to jump on a camera or just record with us, we would love that. Just let us know. Once again, media and bot. So love to see you guys.
Okay. A little support recap. This is a new thing that I have decided that we're going to do. There are some things that come in that are just frequent and relevant to other people. And so I'm just going to walk through these. I know Drew's on, I think Mark is as well. If there is any further questions, but there was some support tickets that came in about ImmyBot instance becomes unresponsive due to unhealthy integration. The workarounds are there. The Ninja integration is finishing soon. I know a lot of people are waiting on that. And then locale settings can be automated now. So waiting on the final confirmation, but those are like big ticket items that were coming through in the month of August. I guess is where the recap is, not September. But if that's relevant to any of your team, we'll start doing a segment of recurring tickets that are coming in so we can get ahead of anything that more than just a couple of people are experiencing. If there's any questions about that, you can throw them in the chat or unmute yourself. Sweet. And then I'm going to pass it to Dimitri. I think I need to give sharing permissions too. So we'll title on that first. I'll get ahead on Darren's too.
All right. Looks like I got it. So for those of you who know me, hello. For those of you who don't, I'm a longtime early adopter and contributor to ImmyBot. Been on some of these calls before, and there are a lot of folks early on helped to onboard and demo ImmyBot for some of you, if you guys have used ImmyBot for any period of time over beyond the last couple of years, I really should say. I also do, some consulting for folks when, they run into some issues with ImmyBot every now and then, where they've got a piece of software that's not on the global repository and probably never will be because it's specific, to a client that they may have, and all of a sudden they need to update or deploy some piece of software to 100 or 200 endpoints and are not quite sure how to get it automated. And so helping folks without, with that kind of stuff here and there. There are some things that I've noticed. Yep, Tim, we worked on WordPerfect for you not too long ago. But one of the things that I've noticed in working with folks is that they're not really taking advantage of or even noticing this cloud task or cloud script context that is present in ImmyBot that has some advantages and different behaviors that I've taken and leveraged in many cases to do some kind of forensic analysis. And to just start off with, what the difference is between Metascript context, which is what a lot of ImmyBot scripters are familiar with, versus cloud script context, which is there but people don't tend to use. The easy description is that Metascript context executes per machine in the context of a machine, but the code is running in ImmyBot's backend. Okay. Cloud script also runs in ImmyBot's backend, but it runs in the context of a tenant. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, some of you may be familiar with get ImmyComputer, which is an inbuilt backend commandlet that allows you to get the computer object that is pertinent to the computer. If you're talking about Metascript context, if I were to take and execute this script, and hopefully everybody can see my screen share, if I run this against my machine, I'm going to get back an object that has a bunch of properties pertaining to my specific computer. But what happens if instead of running get ImmyComputer in Metascript context, we run it in cloud script context? Well, if I go ahead and execute this in cloud script context, over here on the left, the debugger, instead of letting me choose a computer, lets me choose a tenant. So get ImmyComputer in the context of a cloud script, when you choose a tenant, it will actually return all of the online computer objects, not just a single one, right? That has some advantages when you're looking to do some kind of mass searching of things across all computers in a tenant. So to give you an example of something similar to what I was doing or having to do just fairly recently, was we were looking for some specific event log items. Now, how easy or difficult is it for you currently to go and search for a specific event log item if the machine, and then do something with that. Well, I found that using ImmyBot with cloud script context, you're able to, very quickly and easily go and do these things in parallel very quickly and aggregate the results together. So to give you a simple example, we've got, say, the system event log, which I'm sure everybody here is familiar with. If we were looking for the event ID 6005, 6005 happens to be the event that gets logged when the event log service starts, effectively when the machine boots up, okay? And if I wanted to quickly know what are the boot times of all of the machines by looking at the event log, I can execute this. If I execute it in Metascript context, I'm going to get the boot time of just the one PC. But if I switch this to CloudScript context, by virtue of how this particular function that I've written is written, it will be aware of whether or not it is being executed in Metascript context or CloudScript context, and will get you the results from all of the online machines instead. So I can take and pick my internal, take the 10x, take my internal systems here and run this script in CloudScript context. And I've gone ahead and made this thing print out, hey, these are the online computers, because those are the computers we're going to check. Here's a bunch of laptops or old computers that are offline, so we can't check those. So ultimately what we've got right here is an aggregated list that we put together in seconds that tells me very simply, hey, what is the boot time of these computers? Okay. Now, getting the boot time of the computer, how valuable is that? Well, not in particular, but I want you to imagine now that you are looking for very specific event log items pertaining to a security event, or something that's like you're looking for a needle in a haystack. One thing in particular that we were told at a particular client is that people were reporting their machines blue screen. And we're like, okay, but we don't have any tickets about these machines blue screening. Like, what's the deal there? I don't know. The guys in the field are just saying that their machines are blue screening every now and then, and we want you to fix it. Okay, well, how do I figure out which machines were blue screening? Well, as it turns out, system event ID 1001, if you were to take and execute that against a group of machines, you can quickly see that, oh, look, we in fact did find some things that had some crash dumps. How easy or difficult would that have been potentially with another tool to go and find these machines crash dumped at this time, at this date, that quickly? ImmyBot's invoke Immy command, which if you scripters are familiar with it, has on a parameter for parallelization, dash parallel. So if you have multiple computers in CloudScript context that you want to execute the same set of commands against, and then take and average those results together, you can do that very, very quickly with ImmyBot and invoke Immy command and dash parallel. So another example of something that we will do, something that I wrote some time ago. If I want to audit members of local administrators groups, one of some of the code that I wrote was I said, hey, look, I want to just execute this against all of these machines, and I want a full list of, hey, what are the members of all of these administrators groups? And then I want to take and filter out the ones that I call suspects. Like, hey, these are things that don't match my pattern. The things that should be a member are X, Y, and Z. Anything else is a suspect. And immediately, with code similar to what we just showed with get Windows event log item, executing in parallel, gathering this information, aggregating it in the cloud for context, and then go ahead and displaying it gives you a very quick and easy way to gather information in mass, especially for things like forensic analysis. So that was it. I don't know if anybody has any questions about it. And as a side note, if anybody is interested in analyzing blue screen crash dumps, there is a software up in IMMY called WinDebug that is part of the Windows SDK. I added a task to it that if there is a crash dump detected on a machine, that ImmyBot will use WinDebug to analyze that crash dump and tell you what the cause was.
That's sweet. It's really interesting to have Dimitri present a lot of the things that he presents. One, I think he's very good at it, but two, there's the power of IMMY is so much stronger than we even realize. And there's all of these like really unique and cool and different innovative ways that you can use IMMY to do so much. Like, I don't know that this was intuitive to many people to be using this as a way to search multiple computers, but that just goes to show the power of IMMY. But yeah, I'd be curious to see if there's any questions. I'll give it a couple seconds. And then Darren, if you want to start pulling up whatever you have to show.
Oh, I don't have anything.
You don't have anything?
No.
Do you want to talk through a little bit of your idea with IMMY and AI and what that could look like?
Yeah, we could do that. I feel like I've talked about it a bunch. But, I didn't really gather a whole lot of feedback. One thing I wanted to add to Dimitri's thing, though, is we have there's another task in there called find files with Wistree, which you could also leverage as like a task that I have in global, and that allows you to search. It uses the MFT kind of like everything does. So if you're looking for a file and all you have is like a glob pattern, you like wildcards and stuff, it could be, you could very performantly search the whole network for a given file. So kind of wanted to throw that out there. It might not just be event logs that you're searching for. It might be like literal files.
You may feel like you talk about AI a lot, but it was, especially when Tara and I were in Australia, a lot of the questions that we were getting at the booth was, how does IMMY plan to leverage AI? And I don't know that we have that answer completely fully baked, but I think it's interesting to talk about some of the ways we've thought about it.
Yeah, so my initial foray into this was to advertise an MCP server, like host the MCP server from your IMMY instance. So that would allow you to use a tool like Claude or ChatGPT or anything. Like we could even use like N8N, anything that acts as an MCP client could talk to IMMY, and essentially it acts as an API that's curated for the LLM, and that's still a primary thrust of what I think I want to do with it. What I started thinking about, though, is the majority of the code that I wrote to get the MCP server working revolved around authentication, which is obviously important. But the goal that I had really was for your ticketing system to be able to leverage IMMY to run diagnostics before your technician even gets to the ticket. Like in the base case, you can embed, maybe we could jazz off our pod and ConnectWise or the tab we have at Halo, and IMMY goes and gets the JSON representation of the ticket, shoves it over to the LLM, maybe with some prompting around it that suggests, hey, perform some cursory lookups, maybe look for log files, look for errors in log files, kind of do the stuff that Dimitri was just doing, but maybe let the LLM drive a little bit, armed with a set of tools that it may deem relevant. I would perhaps advertise a tool like Search Event Viewer or Search Registry or Search File System, where it could very easily just be given us, bring wildcards and anything which translate that into a script that works. I'm trying to avoid just allowing the LLM arbitrary PowerShell across all of your machines, because like no one would do that, right? Like that's crazy. But I still try to curate it, I guess is my point. So I started about, well, you don't, the way I did the auth, you've as yourself, you're essentially giving the MP server the same access that you would have in IMMY, which some, parameters, but that means I can't really do anything, or the LLM can't really do anything until you literally open that ticket in the pod readers, and then it forces you through the auth flow, and then the LLM can start doing its thing. Well, shit, by that point, you're like, make it out of my way. I'm just going to jump in and try to figure this thing out myself. So ideally, you would have the LLM be doing some of this stuff automatically for you. So maybe we have a webhook that's coming out of these systems. We're sort of like that, and we're saying, okay, let's just do that triage stuff ahead of time, and just so we can figure out before the technician even puts their eyes in the ticket, right? Because if they've got good, distinct information, like, hey, look, found this event in the event viewer, and it looks like a machine that's been blue screening, that will be great. Like, how much time would that save you, right? Versus waiting for happen at that moment. So that made me realize, maybe I could get this whole MCP thing merged a little bit quicker if I rip out all the auth code that I wrote. And there's a side reason why I want to do that. The MCP auth spec, the that is drafted right now, fixes a big issue, like compatibility issue with Entra. So I'm like kind of pausing on that until they ratify it, but just for a technical reason. But if I just sidestep it and just give you some sort of like bearer token that could be authenticated, just statically, then that would allow clients like N8N or whatever that doesn't do like the full auth flow to more easily interact with the ImmyBot MCP. So anyway, I'm just looking for feedback. Do you guys think this is a good idea? Are we gonna bring about the singularity and collapse humanity? What do we think?
So the ImmyBot MCP is available and active.
No, it's a branch that I can't get guys to merge in because there's 131 changed files, and most of which are authentication related, and they don't want to touch it.
Got it.
So
when will that be merged in?
I don't know. Why don't we just go pull our devs in and be like, hey, people want it, give it to them.
Cloud9 wants it.
Yeah. Okay, the whole thing's behind a feature flag. Okay, so like I feel that it's it's okay, but if it's I haven't really prioritized it, but I do want it. I think it would be very useful. I guess my question to you is, if I were to split the PR and I were to maybe initially merge in one that doesn't have the full auth flow, but did just like a static bearer token that you could like, what client would you be using?
I don't know yet. I'm still working on that, and potentially would actually write my own.
Okay, so now, Claude has both Claude and OpenAI, but let's focus on Claude because theirs is better. Has a built-in MCP client, so if you're interacting with Claude, you can go do that user auth flow. Like, I mean, I could demonstrate it against the PR that I have. Let's see if we get this thing going. So let's see, go Claude.
I knew when you said you had nothing to show that the pressure by coding takes the fun out of it for you, but the minute the pressure's off, you figured it out.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing I've already showed, so it's not really like novel, but essentially
there's 20 more people on than the last time you talked about this, if that helps. So like,
and on top of that,
to people,
we're getting questions too in the chat that we can address after this.
Yeah, so to Adrian, yes. Tell me what you need to replace your RMM, and we'll go from there. Okay, and now Logan's talking about VS Code plus, I assume, some AI code helper plugin. Yeah, so that's another thing that I had started. Good. Okay, good. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Yeah, I've also started an extension for VS Code that does pull in our script repository. So you could theoretically do that. Ran into some issues getting the IntelliSense working on that, but yeah, I would like that. Okay, so monitors and alerting. What do you need to monitor and alert on?
So, I mean, we're freezing on it right now is our mental, and essentially our biggest thing that the group doesn't want to walk away from is all the monitors we have built in on, the different Windows events that we're looking for, and that are in this degree. Yeah. The RM tool just alerts us on fixed tickets and artifacts work those, right? So that essentially paid that. And maybe the capabilities there, the interface isn't.
Yeah. So for that sort of stuff, it's better to have the monitoring happen locally on the machine, like and filter it like that, and then like sort of feed it back. And I've been a little like not wanting to build out monitoring to that extent, just because I feel like there's a lot of good solutions out there for monitoring once we escape like the MSP ecosystem. But I also understand wanting to have a single pane of glass to like handle all that. So it's something that I think we're gonna have to do, but I don't think I'm gonna make it as robust as something like Automate, because personally I think it's a little bit overly complicated, where the vast majority of us really just care about disk space and server offline online in most cases. But I do see the value in the event viewer stuff.
Well, and even if I can maybe just add to my question, perhaps just clarity on direction would be good, because I think we've got some decisions to make of whether we stay with Automate or we go with ConnectWise RMM or what have you in the future, right? So it's good to know where Immy's going, just so we can then make a decision on where we're going.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say it's realistic for us to have that built out. Like, it'll probably be another 12 months, give or take, before that's like a reality, most likely. But also, our team is a lot larger than it was. So, we do have people that could do it now. So, but I think 12 months is a reasonable estimate to at least get some baseline monitoring if that's the thing that's holding you back.
And I'm gonna be honest here, guys. The more that you guys ask for this, and that you upvote this, and that you talk about this, it's going to put it on our radar a lot faster. I believe Derek was in here, and he kind of runs our roadmap for the team. So, I after every event, I go back and I do tell them what we hear, and we hear this a lot, but it needs to come from y'all too. So, thank you for bringing that up.
I don't know why it's not doing the thing I need to do. Okay, well, I wasn't actually planning on demoing this, but I am curious why it's not doing the redirect like it usually does.
So something there, someone said is network monitoring. Oh, wait, I lost it. In real time returns on it and alerting based off that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen one day. I still want it. I still see some value in monitoring. I know Darren does not, but for our MSP that we still have, the monitoring aspect of it, as long as it's not noisy and useless as an automate, can provide some value. Even I even personally like the way that things. What's the name of the tool?
For those of you that don't know, that's
Brett,
Darren's business partner.
LionGuard.
Yeah, LionGuard. Like I actually kind of like the way LionGuard does some of their alerting or monitoring based on like a James path. So it gives you a lot quicker ability to make monitors. As like as a first path. I just think it's kind of an elegant way of how they do it. But so I think it will come, but I agree it's probably going to be 12 months out, but to fully flesh it out.
Logan put something in there, Brett, that maybe you can. I don't know what IRM is.
Invoke rest method.
There you go. One of the least technical on the team still.
No,
But
and just to let folks know here that it is possible. I got rid of my RMM about 4 years and 4 months ago because of some of the things that I had done with ImmyBot. Now, that's not to say that I stopped monitoring my clients, what I did, and Darren even already called it out. I put LionGuard and PRTG in place for monitoring client servers and infrastructure and business processes, and I've found that we have a much better, less noisy monitoring environment than we ever did with our RMM.
I think what Peter just mentioned is good. They switched from ConnectWise RMM to Ninja recently, and they reduced the number of alerts people used to think they needed. So that's been the internal conversation we've had, right? Because in the MSP, like Brett and Darren have already said previously, and maybe on this call, it just got to be noise, and no one ended up checking things because if everything's important, what's actually important, right? And there was just too much to even try to look with our monitoring at one.
Yeah, well, I had that argument with Adrian before. He's in our Evolve group, and it turns out that they actually have their shit together, and they're one of the few MSPs that actions off of those alerts. So I was like, damn it. So I couldn't really, argue with that, because 9 times out of 10, it's like, yeah, but what are you really doing with those monitors alerts anyway? Well, I guess you're right. Okay. Well, he was the one guy.
Anna, do we have, and I have Tilly's in here. I saw Jonathan too. We're going to put those recordings up somewhere too, right? Or are they up currently?
I don't think the RMM recording, because we now host all of our ImmyBot calls on YouTube, and I post recording on the community forum afterwards. But we started that in May, and I think March or April was the RMM call. But we do have the recording, and I'm not sure if it's polished, but I'll post that up on the community forum so it lives there, and then I'll send out that link to everybody with my show notes.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, we've had a lot of people that have, like my first month into the job when I was working at the booth, the amount of people that were like, is this an RMM? Can you replace your RMM? So when I started, rebooted the community calls, that was one of the first ones we did, because that was low-hanging fruit. A lot of people were curious to how it was done or if it could be done. And Dimitri and Anthony, who I think is also on the call, have both done it. So, Karen, what's going on your screen?
I am making sure that this repository that contains the ImmyBot VS Code extension that does not work doesn't contain any secrets, so I can make it public. So if you guys want to VOD code it out so I don't have to, then that would be great.
That's so funny.
Darren, when did you switch to Mac?
A few months ago, after I got sick of my Surface dying on airplanes, I could get about 3 full compiles of the ImmyBot source code before the battery would die, and then I had to start carrying around a massive battery pack so I could work for more than about 20 minutes, and so then I got a Mac, and it's so fast.
Yeah.
So Darren, does that mean
so
it's coming for Mac at some point?
we have a lot of Mac use developers, so eventually, because it's a natural progression now that we're using it. I mean, I have a Mac as well that I use mostly for travel, but it compiles everything so much faster.
Yeah. The ARM processors are just so much better than x86. And so yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, that's it might be a little foreshadowing.
I told everybody that it was at least I'll never say never anymore on it since you got yourself a Mac. I was like, you know what that means. He's gonna try to figure it out.
We actually have someone assigned to it right now, so it's gonna
Next month.
it's gonna happen.
I mean, yeah. The only thing that may be troublesome with the Mac is how we're going to be fighting Apple tooth and nail to actually be able to do anything on these machines, right? I know that those Mac RMMs have, they struggle with the changes that Apple does to make, because Apple does not want your device to be managed in
outside of like MDM and stuff.
Yeah, it's difficult. So yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of hurdles that we have to get through with that, and
we'll get there.
That's why you got to hook into Intune and put policies also. Super easy.
Yeah. We're gonna be in tune.
Oh boy.
It'd be way easier. I mean, think how slow Intune is, right? The whole promise of ImmyBot is it'll get done right now, not like when it feels like it or when the schedule kicks off, or like not like right now. So if we're going to do it, we're going to take full control of the whole SyncML everything and make sure that when you say go, it goes.
That might work.
Aaron, did you see Logan's comment? You'll like that one.
That is my end game. I want to sell ImmyBot to Microsoft as a option, as a
Partner option.
replacement for Intune for partners.
As what Intune should have been, is what Aaron says.
Yeah,
When I'll say that, I mean, yes.
Just wanted to hear you say it again.
Will that be in 12 months as well?
Oh God, that's 10 years. That's forgivable. Okay, I think. Okay, I better check the history. Let's make sure I never committed anything in here that you guys shouldn't see.
That is always my fear of being a community team member that is not very technical, pulling you onto these calls. And I know showing, but I don't know what you're showing. So I just full trust and hoping that nothing is being exposed by the love of the screen share that you have. I'm like the amount of anxiety I have when I'm sharing my screen of what, like, even just a notification popping up, and you don't care at all. You have no fear. I love that about you, Darren.
Yep. I tell people you can't break it worse than I can fix it. So we will see. All right. Oh, I think this is okay. I don't think I ever actually did secret-based auth. I remember when I started, I was hell-bent on getting the OAuth flow working, and I did. So if somebody wants to work on this thing, I might be able to get away with it. Ooh, you know what would be really neat to do? It would be really cool if this thing actually published a package so you could download. So, you know, 'cause I don't necessarily want to publish something broken on the, like, you know, the VS Code marketplace, but it's not hard to build the to pack the, what is the extension they use for the extensions in VS Code? There's like a file type. Anyway, not important. Yeah, we could probably vibe that out real quick. Let me see. All right, file. Hold on.
Oh, something else I've been asked about recently, Brett, is ImmyMDM. I know at one point you were working on an MDM.
Yeah, so we had the code and we had the whole proof of concept of it working where you could go in your customer Azure tenant, replace the MDM from Intune to ImmyMDM, and you can, for the intent of autopilot was the original intent, where you can then just drop ship to a customer. There, mute yourself.
Oh, I am muted. But hold on.
I muted him.
Okay, thanks. Where you can, truly drop ship a machine to a computer, to a user, and the first screen they see is welcome to Immy, by us being that autopilot replacement, without having to use Intune whatsoever. The issue came about, I believe, with after we join these machines or onboard them through Immy, now we have the Immy MDM is taken over, and obviously a lot of people still want to have Intune or something else in there, right? So we just need to really need a process and for removing the MDM from the machine, and then you can move it back to Intune to maintain it further if you wanted to, or whatever. But the stretch goal of that was allowing Immy to actually be the MDM, where we can actually do, state definement, desired state configuration like a group policy used to do, right? Where we're no longer having to always check on, okay, is the screensaver blah 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 checked off or whatever. We can actually just use the MDM protocol and enforce it like policy does. So yeah, we had working proof of concept a few years ago when I did the IMI MDM for the autopilot, but we never took it really any further than that. But um, I'm up for resurrection. I think the one issue I ran into as well is that technically speaking, if they were using the MDM, you still that tenant has to still have Intune licensing. So for people that don't, which is not really that big of a deal anymore, and honestly, we shouldn't really care about a whole lot about that. If they don't have Intune licensing, that's technically not compliant. Still need it, even though you're not using that. And there were some other roadblocks that we ran into with it, but it should be something that could be resurrected, but I think a little more thought out and a little bigger scope.
Thank you, Brett.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of quirks to make it work as well with how Windows formats the messages sent back from the machine. I believe we even had to do like custom middleware to interpret. Gosh, I can't remember. It was a couple of years ago, but I remember making a big deal about it because it was these Windows machines were very strict about this kind of broken way that they do it. That .NET natively could not decode with their SOAP implementation. So that was the interesting little thing, but yeah. Darren tried to re-implement it somewhat as a PowerShell integration, one of the integrations, but I think we're learning that some of the higher important ones actually need to be in the code base itself, not as the PowerShell integration. As we're kind of learning with the Ninja one.
I also get anxiety all of Darren's tabs and Brett's emails. If you've ever seen it, Brett Mark his rep one day in front of me, and I almost had an aneurysm. Logan asks, how about IMMI as a installer for Windows Defender app control?
I can't talk much on that one.
Yeah, not really sure, but I haven't messed with that.
No.
Wait, why? Oh, Logan, just take yourself off mute.
Think of it as like a Microsoft replacement for FretLocker, and we're really trying to make it work on an MSP scale, and it's not fun.
So,
and
what do you say?
ImmyBot would probably be the easiest way.
What do you mean?
So when it interfaces with Intune normally, it has a way of flagging like the Intune management extension executable as like a trusted place for other applications to get installed from. And I'm thinking if we can basically define ImmyBot as that as well, then we can sort of say anything coming from Immy should automatically be trusted by app control, although that does sort of violate the idea of zero trust app control.
I mean, you got to trust somebody at some point. Okay. I'm not sure about that. I could look into it. That would be neat. I wonder if it's something that's configurable like per instance, or like I would have to get approved by Microsoft. I'm not sure.
I think it's something that's set in, it might be a reg key on each machine, but if not, then it can be a policy from Intune.
Okay. Seems like if it's a reg key on the machine, like malware could easily just,
That's kind of what I was thinking when I said it out loud, so I think I might be incorrect, but we shall see.
We shall see. Sorry, I'm trying to vibe code out this CI pipeline real quick.
Any update on maintenance completed emails not sending out? What to you?
I know there's an issue open for it. I'm going to pull it up now, but I don't think there's been anything yet.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Yeah, maybe we can get somebody on that. I don't. Have we tried to replicate it?
Well, I mean, it's not happening in the immense instance either. I haven't done a completed email in a bit.
Hmm. Okay.
We'll get with you, Tim, and Mark will continue to work with you on that. I'm loving these screenshots of all of the tabs. Anybody else has any support specific things, you can throw those in the chat. Our support team's on, so they can be looking at those while we're on the call. Darren's going to continue to vibe code this out, but our scheduled programming for the day is through. So if anybody does need to jump, please feel free to. This is record attendance. Don't really know what to do with ourselves. But got it, Timothy. We know how that is. We have some of those at our MSP. But thank you all for joining as always, and excited to hopefully see many of you again.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Guys.